2001, the year of Jet Li's The One, the year of Legally Blonde, the year of
Mhm.
probably a lot of hundreds of movies we did not put in our top 10 list, but those are the only other ones worth mentioning.
I don't think that's not true.
Very true. Very true.
I mean, we didn't put Freddy Got Fingered, so
You tried to.
it's a shame.
You
We didn't
tried.
put
I tried to
Monsters,
just
Inc.
because I wanted to keep saying Freddy Got Fingered as many times as possible.
Wow, really, really edgy, pushing the bars.
Yeah. Let's jump right into the list. I don't care about this intro anymore. You know
I'm
what
gonna
it
pull it up.
is.
Hang on.
Number 10 is Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away. Miyazaki movies are just a beautiful, wonderful thing, and they're all on HBO Max. So if you've not ever watched any of them, start with Spirited Away. The animation's great. The voice acting's great, both the original and the English versions. Usually, sometimes the English ones, they're hit or miss, but for Miyazaki, they're great. I'm sad it's only number 10. It would
Sorry.
be number 9, Ocean's 11, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Don Cheadle, Gould,
Soderbergh.
Elliot Gould.
Gosh, it feels so 2000s, but also doesn't. It's so good. It's like it's one of those weird movies that like it feels a little like oh, okay, yeah, that was back then, but also it's like but there's still something so timeless about it, and I love it, and I just
It's definitely a time capsule, especially for all the actors. And like the style of Soderbergh did it was very like over the top almost.
I love
It's a
it.
ton of fun. I agree with that.
I
It's
just
not a great movie.
Yeah, Brad
Oh
Pitt
my
eating
God.
food's good, but yeah. Don't get mad at us. You're the one that you guys ranked it. I just put him in the list for number 8, AI, artificial intelligence. Stanley Kubrick's last written movie that he didn't actually finish writing, so Spielberg took it over, finished it off. It's just such a good story about being a kid and not knowing your place in the world,
Yeah.
but also it's about parenting and like motherhood and fatherhood.
But just like it's two huge directors who had to kind of make this movie. Like Kubrick like died, and so it's like you're like you would love to see a Kubrick version, but you're like it's still somehow like both Kubrick's and Spielberg's. I just really it's definitely worth a rewatch, and I don't know, I'm shocked that this movie doesn't get more love today. It's a movie that you'd think like 20 years later people just can't shut up about it.
One of the few Spielberg movies I have not seen. And
Not
I'm
not shocked. Not shocked by that. Number 7, we have Moulin Rouge. Zach, go ahead.
oh my god, the energy in this movie is insane. It's Baz Luhrmann just unleashed with a ridiculous amount of music. Like it's a jukebox musical, so it's just random, like friggin' Nirvana plays right after a Madonna song. But everything like you can get pretentious if you want. The mise en scène, everything that's on screen, all the production design, all of the sound design, everything is over the top, bonkers. Ewan McGregor is incredible. Nicole Kidman should have won the Oscar. It's just the energy of this like ridiculously sad story is it's just over the top and great.
Why does Zach love this so much? Because he can't. Am I right, Zach? Ah,
Well, that's getting cut.
no.
An equally sad movie we have at number 6, Wet Hot American Summer. I mean, it's the whole crew. Just everything about this movie is impossible to describe. Just know that it's a comedy. Amy Poehler, Bradley Cooper, Paul Rudd, just
Jane
Elizabeth
Garofalo,
Banks.
Molly
Yeah.
Shannon.
You can name everybody. There's a talking can at some point. It's about camp, but no, it's played by people that are in their mid 20s to late 30s, just a whole gamut of people.
Now it's like got 3 Netflix seasons of a weird, even weirder show. But I also like I think about this is where I start thinking about like what comedy started to turn into the late 2000s, and I think like Wet Hot American Summer is like the one of the reasons why like like YouTube like shows up and is huge, and like the Lonely Island and Fly the Concord. It's like the beginning of that. Like, what is this? And but why is it so funny?
This is quite a whiplash of a top five because number five is Shrek.
I don't know. There's just something to be said about this movie that was a complete underdog of a like there are stories, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you got fired from Prince of Egypt from working on Prince of Egypt, they sent you to Shrek. Like DreamWorks was banking so hard on Prince of Egypt. Shout out, great movie, love it. But like they were like, "Oh, you're not good enough for this prestige film, so you're gonna go work on Shrek." And people hated working on this. And just the story to get this movie made and that it just blows up at the time. Mom, dad, take your kid to see this, but there's some stuff in there for you. There's some potty humor, there's some adult things, and it's you watch it now and I'm like, gosh, I don't know why my parents let me watch this at this age, but I don't know, it's just fun. The story holds up, the voice cast is great. Yeah, the animation's not the best, but
Monsters Inc. is better.
oh, 100. I love Monsters Inc. is a better movie, yes. But
So
if
why
we're
did you put it above Shrek?
Because we're talking about like legacy. We're talking about like this movie. No, whatever.
Moving on. Number four, we have Training Day. Denzel's probably his most famous role. And this dude has all kinds of famous roles. But you also have Ethan Hawke playing the straight man to Denzel's crazy. You got Terry Crews in one of his very first movies for like a cup of coffee. He just shows up at the end. But man, what a force this movie was. It's not the first time we saw a corrupt cop, but it's the first time where we saw someone so unapologetically corrupt. And it was such a revelation at the time. Now it's such a played out trope. But back then it was just like, wow, this is
Well,
amazing.
and you have Denzel, who like I mean, like the dude is an awesome guy in real life too, and it's just like you have this dude just still so charming in the movie and but still just so awful, and you're like, that is
He's charming and horrifying.
yeah, and like you understand why people just this is the one that they talk about. The leather jacket. He just looks so cool. Ethan Hawke looks so cool. Like it's a cool movie. I mean, subject matter not so cool, but yeah.
Number three, we have Memento, Chris Nolan's first hit. Basically, it was an indie hit. It's not a cult classic because basically the moment people saw it, they told someone, and then
Yeah.
it's kind of a cult classic, but also not because a lot of people have seen it. Chris Nolan was like, "Hold my beer," and just went non-linear to hell and back.
Yeah.
And Guy Pearce is just amazing in this movie. Carrie-Anne Moss, Joey Pants. Can't
Joey
forget about
Pants.
Joey Pants.
Yeah.
I watched this movie probably about like 50 times in like 2002. So
Yeah, I was in 2002, but whenever I got into movies, I watched this movie. So I can't watch it anymore because I burnt myself out on it. But it was wonderful.
We have the Royal Tenenbaums, Wes Anderson before he went full Wes Anderson.
Mhm.
It's still a little bit sloppy. It's still not fully his aesthetic, but it is very much a Wes Anderson movie.
It's the one that made him famous, really, because Rushmore wasn't a big hit, and then this one made I think $50 million. It's the one where everyone discovered, oh, Wes Anderson, he's this guy who likes symmetry and classical music and indie stuff.
Yeah.
Plus the performances it's pretty funny. Like everyone, like Gene Hackman in it is incredible.
Maybe to me one of his best is that like we all have a family. We all have like people that like we are like this. We all think our family's weird. Like they're just a little weirder, and it's I've never been stuck in a hotel in Budapest. It's like to me it's like it feels the most like, hey, it's relatable. It is to me like the most mainstream.
It is still about white privileged rich family, but it does, as JD said, it's about like, you know, problems we all go through with our family, so it's still relatable. You guessed it, you're right. You knew it was number one when you looked at this video. It's Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. We do our list ahead of time. And then I was talking about how I don't really like the Lord of the Rings movies because I didn't get into them as a kid, and fantasy's hit or miss for me. And then Zach was like, I only ranked it. This is not what he said verbatim, but he basically, I only ranked it because it looks cool.
But like, so they built all those sets. They like all of the chainmail and stuff they actually made. The storytelling is great, aside from all of the boring stuff about the elves' pasts, and
Oh
I
my
just
God,
don't care.
Zach, you sound
Which is
so
like a third of the movie.
crazy.
But
What?
just
When's the last,
filming
Zach? When's
wise,
the last
it's
time you watched this
incredible.
movie? When's the last time you watched this
A
movie?
year ago, and I skipped it again.
Are you
I'll
for
skip it every
Zach?
time.
Listen, guys, I'm here. For a lot of people, this movie, like, just for me at least, like, I went and saw this. I knew it was based on a book. My dad told me, hey, this is based on an old book, and it's fantasy, whatever. And I saw it, and I was just blown away by the story, the characters, the visuals, the sets, the real like costumes, the armor, the armies, and I think, say what you like. I love all of them, but to me, this is the one that like I think about the most. Like this has, these grand moments but they also feel so small at the same time. Like this is, to me, the perfect way to kick off like a franchise and a trilogy. It doesn't get any better than this. Young me was obsessed with these movies. I remember watching all the special features on the DVD and knowing like, oh yeah, they really shot in New Zealand, and Orlando Bloom jumped out of an airplane at one point, and Viggo Mortensen broke his toe in the second one. It's like there's just like, so to me, like it's gonna be hard not to rank the other ones in the next 2 years, but I don't want to because I want this one to be the one that's remembered because it kind of started it all. It's just so good. I'm like, I think about this movie maybe like once a week. I love it. It's just
Yeah.
so good. To me, it's pure. It's like a pure movie that isn't ruined by really much of anything.
I skip the elves every time.
Skip the elves. I don't understand what that means.
With
Zach,
the
like,
Kate,
He sees
Kate Blanchett.
Orlando Bloom and he just fast forwards.
so you skip a part that by the time you get to the third movie, you're like lost. You're like,
Yes,
wait,
that's exactly what happened.
Wait
to
a
me,
second.
I watched
Where'd
the
they get
third
that
one
thing?
first.
Where'd they get that thing? And it's like,
Yeah.
bad
That's
storytelling.
what happened to me. I went straight to the third one because I was like, oh, it won 11 Oscars. I'll watch it. And what is Kate Blanchett going on about? I don't care, but it looks cool.
Oh my God, Zach, the lines come like.
Un esercito di prole